Tonight we're diving into something truly bizarre. What if, one day, you woke up in a Victorian house, surrounded by dangers you can't even begin to imagine? Think your place has issues? You haven't seen anything yet. The dangers lurking in those grand old homes were a whole different ballgame. Stick with me, and you'll be glad for the comfy mattress you're on by the end of this. But before we dive in, if you're enjoying these tales, hit that like button or subscribe and drop a comment below with where you're tuning in from. It's always wild seeing people drift off to these stories all over the world. Now, find that cozy spot, breathe in slow, and let your body relax into whatever you're lying on. We're heading back to 1870s England. Trust me, you're going to appreciate your modern bed by the end of this. Welcome to your new reality. You've just woken up in a Victorian bedroom. Your eyes snap open, but it's pure, inky darkness, not the kind of soft, comforting night you're used to. This is the real deal. Thick, heavy darkness. The mattress under you isn't the plush memory foam you're used to. It's a lump of horsehair stuffed into fabric, and you can feel the metal springs digging into your back. You try to shift, but all you hear is that crinkling rustle. Turns out, it's straw. Yep, they stuffed straw in mattresses back then for extra padding. Not exactly the luxury you're accustomed to, right? The air feels different too. Heavier. There's a strange smell hanging in the air with smoke. Coldest, something musty and ancient. Beeswax, candles, old furniture polish. Your breath makes little puffs of steam in the freezing morning air. Even the wealthiest Victorians struggled with the cold. No central heating here. Just fireplaces, none of them lit yet. Then, you hear it? Footsteps, light, but purposeful, coming up the wooden stairs. A soft glow from a candle peeks under the door. It creaks open, and a young woman in a plain black dress with a white apron stands there, candle in hand. She curtsies. "Good morning, Mum. It's 6 o'clock. Shall I light your fire?" Before you can respond, she's already kneeling in front of the hearth, placing kindling and coal. In minutes, a small fire crackles to life. She then tells you breakfast will be ready at 8. And that's when she hits you with it. "Mum, would you be wanting a bath this morning?" A bath sounds nice, but then reality sets in. Victorian bathing meant servants hauling hot water in buckets up the stairs, filling a tub in front of the fire, and standing around while you scrubbed yourself down. Not exactly your idea of privacy. "No thanks," you mumble. "Just some water for washing, please." The maid nods and exits, only to return with a porcelain pitcher and basin. She places them on the washed sand, laying out a towel. "Will there be anything else, Mum?" she asks. You shake your head. She curtsies again and quietly withdraws. You pull back the heavy woolen blankets and swing your legs over the edge of the bed. The floor is bare wood, icy cold beneath your feet. No carpets here, just scattered rugs that barely keep the chill at bay. You make your way to the washed sand and peer into the mirror. The glass is wavy, distorting your reflection. Splashing some water on your face, you grab a bar of soap, harsh and yellow, smelling strongly of lye. You glance around for your clothes and spot them laid out on a chair: corset, petticoats, dress. More layers than you know what to do with. Getting dressed is going to be a whole project. But first you need to use the bathroom. And that's when you remember no N-suite here. Just a chamber pot tucked under the bed. Welcome to Victorianhygiene. You decide to hold it and get dressed first. Maybe there's a proper toilet somewhere in the house. There were flush toilets in the 1870s, but they were still a novelty. Casting is a struggle, especially with the corset. You can barely manage to get it on loosely, then squeeze into the petticoats and dress. It's not perfect, but it'll have to do for now. You step out into the hallway, gripping the banister for support. The stairs are narrow and steep, another hidden danger of Victorian homes. One wrong step and you're headed for a nasty fall. The main staircase is grand though, built to impress. You reach the bottom of the stairs and step into a dimly lit entrance hall. Heavy curtains block most of the morning light. Gas lamps flicker on the walls, casting an eerie glow. You follow the tempting scent of breakfast down the hall, passing a grand dining room with a massive table before entering a cozy morning room. Breakfast is already set out: eggs, bacon, sausages, fish, toast, muffins, jam, and coffee. Victorians didn't do light breakfasts. This is their idea of essential fuel for the day. You sit down, and a maid appears instantly to serve you. You can't help but notice her hands red and chapped from constant work with hot water, lye soap, and the harsh conditions. "Would you like tea or coffee, Mum?" she asks. You opt for coffee and take a sip, nearly choking. It's strong and bitter, and possibly tainted with burnt sugar or other cheap fillers to stretch the expensive beans. Milk, of course, was pasteurized in those days, meaning it could easily be contaminated. You pass on it, sticking to black coffee. As you eat, you start to notice the Victorian obsession with stuff. Every surface in this room is covered with photographs, small sculptures, books, and decorative boxes. You glance out the window. A gardener is working in the garden, but is he using Paris green as an insecticide? You suddenly feel the weight of all these hidden dangers everywhere. The arsenic wallpaper, the gas lighting, the contaminated food. It's a miracle anyone survived. But survive they did, adapting to a world that would horrify us today. In a way, we're lucky. We live in an age of regulations and standards that keep us safe from the things the Victorians couldn't even imagine. You continue your breakfast, the weight of your corset pressing in on you, but you find yourself feeling oddly comforted by the familiar taste of coffee and toast. It's almost as though you're restarting to accept this world you've woken up in, no matter how strange and full of hidden dangers it may be. After finishing your meal, the maid returns, a polling card in hand. "Mrs. Henderson has called, Mum. She says it's about the charity bazaar next week," she announces. You smile politely, nodding. The constant social obligations of the Victorian world are becoming clear. It's all about appearances, maintaining social connections, and always being part of the right circles. "He'll be with her shortly," you tell the maid, brushing the crumbs from your hands. As you prepare to leave the room, you notice the faint scent of the flowers in the vase nearby. It's a reminder of how, in this world, everything has meaning, even flowers. Victorians were obsessed with the language of flowers, a silent code for expressing feelings that couldn't be spoken aloud. Roses symbolized love, lilies represented purity, and violets could convey honesty. If you weren't fluent in this symbolic language, you deem as half of what's going on in any given room. After the maid leaves, you take a few moments to reflect on the strange, hidden dangers you've encountered in just a short time here. The food, the milk, the lead paint, the arsenic wallpaper, the gas lamps. Everything, it seems, is laced with danger, from the obvious to the utterly hidden. Yet, in this world, these dangers are normal. No one knows any better, and so they simply go about their lives, making do with the comforts they have, even though those comforts might be silently killing them. You step out into the hallway, your steps tentative, the weight of your corset making every movement feel more cumbersome. The house feels different now, a bit more oppressive, a bit more suffocating. But you push on, knowing that your exploration of this era isn't over yet. You make your way through the grand staircase, past the ornate wallpaper and gas lamps, to find yourself standing in front of a room you haven't seen before, your husband's study. The room is far more somber than the rest of the house. It's dark, filled with heavy oak furniture and dark green wallpaper. There's a large desk covered in papers and bookshelves, filled with volumes of legal texts, history, and philosophy. The room smells of leather and old paper. It feels distinctly masculine, a stark contrast to the ornate and delicate furnishings in the rest of the house. You notice a photograph on the desk, a formal portrait of your Victorian family. There you are, seated in the same stiff manner that some Victorians adopted in photographs. Your Victorian husband beside you. Behind you, two young men in their late teens or early 20s stand, and at your feet sits Charlotte, dressed in a miniature version of the same formal attire. The sight of Charlotte makes you pause. She looks peaceful in the photo, unaware of the invisible dangers lurking in her world. Lead-minus painted toys, arsenic in the wallpaper, contaminated milk. But she's not the only one living in danger. You glance around the study, noticing other risks: the taxidermy birds, the minerals, and even the books. Some Victorian book bindings used arsenic for vibrant colors, and the pages themselves could be contaminated with harmful chemicals. Even in this seemingly safe, scholarly environment, there's a constant undercurrent of danger. Your thoughts are interrupted by another knock at the door. It's the maid again, announcing that lunch is ready in the morning room. You thank her and reluctantly leave the study. You step out into the hallway, wondering what other hidden killers might be waiting to be uncovered. The day has already been full of dangerous discoveries, but you know that's only the beginning. The lunch laid out for you is simple by Victorian standards: cold meats, cheese, bread, and fruit. Charlotte is already at the table, her cheeks flushed from the walk, looking more like a tiny adult than a child. As you eat, you take a moment to observe her, this young girl navigating a world full of unseen threats. Even in a privileged home like this, children didn't escape the dangers of the era. There was lead in their toys, poisonous dyes in their clothes, and the constant threat of disease. But to her, this world is all she knows. She's protected from some of the harshest realities. But she's still living in a house built on hidden dangers. You start to wonder what her future holds. The expectations placed on Victorian girls were narrow. They were expected to excel in accomplishments like playing the piano, needlework, and drawing, all skills that made them suitable for marriage, but nothing that would prepare them for independence. Their world was one of rigid rules and unspoken limitations, a world that valued external beauty and domesticity above intellectual development or personal freedom. You try to push these thoughts away as you focus on the meal in front of you. But it's hard to ignore the strangeness of it all, the layers of clothing, the rigid social expectations, the constant awareness of the dangers lurking in every corner. The longer you stay in this world, the more you realize how little room there is for individuality. You finish your meal and once again, find yourself left with nothing to do but wait for the next formal social engagement. You head to the drawing room, your mind still buzzing with all the hidden threats you've discovered so far. You take a seat, wondering what new dangers the rest of the day will reveal. And as you wait, you can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for your own time, a time where the hidden killers that plagued the Victorians are now largely behind us. And yet, you can't deny the strange allure of their world, a world full of elegance, danger, and the constant search for perfection. As the day unfolds, you continue to navigate the strange and hazardous Victorian life, hoping that tomorrow will bring more answers and fewer hidden threats. As the afternoon stretches on, you find yourself standing by the window, gazing out at the bustling streets. The hustle and bustle of Victorian life outside feels so far removed from the dangers that lie inside the house, yet the same sense of rigidity and formality governs both the world outside and the one within. The cobblestone streets are alive with the clatter of horse-drawn carriages, vendors calling out their wares, and children playing in the dirt. The air is thick with the smell of coal smoke, and horse manure, an unmistakable sign of the urban Victorian landscape. Your mind drifts back to the many dangers you've encountered in just one day. The lead in the paint, the arsenic in the wallpaper, the gas lighting that could leak without warning, and the food that might be contaminated. Each of these hidden killers feels like an ever-present threat, lingering just below the surface of daily life. Yet the Victorians themselves were blissfully unaware of the risks they lived with. The houses they built, the comforts they enjoyed, all came at the cost of their health. As you stand there pondering the toxic world around you, the maid enters the room again, announcing that Mrs. Henderson has arrived for her visit. You sigh inwardly. The social obligations are endless, and you can already feel the weight of the day's formalities pressing down on you. Mrs. Henderson, with her endless chatter about flowers, charitable events, and local gossip, is another reminder of how social life in the Victorian era revolved around appearances, and how little room there is for deviation from the expected norms. When you enter the drawing room, Mrs. Henderson is already seated, waiting with her ever-present smile. She looks you up and down with practiced approval, the same polite but somewhat hollow praise she gives every time. "My dear Mrs. Wallace, you are looking positively radiant today," she exclaims, which only reminds you of the hours spent getting dressed, corseted, and prepared for this moment. You offer her a polite smile, playing your part as the well-bred Victorian lady. The conversation soon turns to the charity bazaar, and you find yourself nodding along as Mrs. Henderson discusses flower arrangements, costs, and the symbolism of various blooms. It's all so trivial, yet so vitally important in this world. You wonder how much of your life will be defined by these small details, by the flowers you choose for events, the perfect performance of your domestic duties, and the ever-watchful eyes of society. As the conversation continues, your eyes wander across the room, noting the delicate wallpaper, the intricate carvings of the furniture, the crystal chandeliers hanging overhead. It's all beautiful, but you know now that beauty in this world is often dangerous. The wallpaper, once admired for its color and intricate pattern, could contain arsenic. The crystal chandeliers, though stunning in their design, are a fire hazard in an era where even the slightest spark could result in disaster. Every corner of this beautiful house seems to hold a secret, the hidden danger that the Victorians called and perceived. You snap back to reality when Mrs. Henderson asks for your opinion on a particular shade of pink for the flowers. You smile, offering a comment that seems to please her. But internally, you're more focused on the weight of the situation. You feel trapped in a world where beauty and danger are inextricably linked, where the simple act of sitting down for tea might be as fraught with risk as climbing the stairs in this house. The visit drags on longer than you do like, and by the time Mrs. Henderson finally departs, you feel mentally exhausted. You can't help but wish for some respite from the endless social obligations, from the hidden threats that lurk in every corner. But you know there's no escape. In this world, your role is defined, your place is set, and every movement you make is scrutinized. As you settle into a chair in the drawing room, your mind begins to wander again. You wonder about your Victorian family, about your husband, about Charlotte. The more you learn about this world, the more you realize how little control anyone truly has. The men work in their studies, your roles as providers and protectors well minus established. The women, on the other hand, are relegated to the home, their lives defined by a series of roles: wife, mother, hostess, each one a reflection of society's expectations. And Charlotte, what kind of life will she have in this world? Will she grow up to be as unaware of the hidden dangers around her as you were when you first arrived? Will she ever question the social norms that confine her, the expectations that demand perfection in everything from her appearance to her behavior? You shake your head, pushing these thoughts aside. For now you are here, in this strange and dangerous Victorian world, and you must continue to play the role you've been given. The evening will bring more obligations: dinner, social calls, perhaps even more dangers lurking in the shadows. But for now, you close your eyes, taking a deep breath and letting yourself relax for a moment, as you prepare for whatever the next chapter of your Victorian adventure holds. As the evening falls, a sense of routine settles in the house, though it feels anything but comforting. You've been swept through an endless cycle of formality and hidden hazards, with each moment brimming with its own unique risks. Dinner awaits, and with it, another round of meticulously crafted politeness and ritual. The grand dining room, which felt so majestic earlier, now seems to loom with a heaviness, its ornate furniture and fine china a reminder of the unspoken rules of the world you're trapped in. The footman enters, his expression as unreadable as ever, and announces that dinner is ready. You rise, adjusting your heavy dress and the corset that constricts your movements. Even the simple act of standing feels like a performance. The tightness in your chest is a constant reminder that the Victorians valued a narrow waist above comfort, even above health. With every step, you feel the weight of centuries of fashion pushing down on you, the layers of fabric pulling at your body like an unrelenting reminder of the past. As you enter the dining room, the table is set with precision, silverware gleaming, crystal glasses catching the flickering candlelight, and plates laid out with perfect symmetry. The meal will be just as rigid, its courses arriving in strict succession, each one a symbol of wealth and status. The footman pulls out your chair, and you sit down with a practiced grace, adjusting the layers of your skirt around you. The clink of silver against china fills the silence, and the servants begin to bring in the first course, a delicate soup steaming gently in its bowl. The soup is rich, its flavors layered with the kind of complexity that marks Victorian cuisine. But as you sip it carefully, you are acutely aware of the other dangers present. The food, like the furniture and wallpaper, could be tainted with poisons you cannot see, toxins that the Victorians were blissfully unaware of. The bread, you recall, could be laced with chalk to make it appear fresher, and the wine, so elegantly poured into your glass, could contain any number of harmful additives. Even the butter, so beautifully churned, might hide traces of contamination. You push the thought aside, focusing on the ritual before you. Each course follows in rapid succession: fish, followed by roast meat, then vegetables, each dish served with the care and attention that only the upper classes could afford. The maid stands at the ready, waiting to replenish your glass, to clear your plate, to serve you with the kind of attentiveness that is as much a symbol of your status as the food itself. The conversation, as usual, remains civil but unremarkable. It floats on the surface of propriety, never dipping into anything too personal or revealing. It's clear that no one at this table is truly comfortable with each other, and yet no one questions it. The Victorians were experts at maintaining an air of civility while suppressing every real emotion or concern beneath the surface. The masks they wore were flawless, as though carefully crafted to conceal the anxiety, fear, and uncertainty that plagued their lives. You find yourself occasionally glancing at Charlotte, who is sitting at the opposite end of the table. She's growing into her role as a proper Victorian child, her manners impeccable, her behavior flawless. Yet, there's a sadness in her eyes that you can't ignore. It's as if she already knows the constraints that will shape her life, even if she can't name them yet. The tightness of her corset, the pressure to behave in a certain way, the expectation to perform in a world that sees her as a future wife and mother, not a person with her own dreams or desires. The dinner progresses slowly, as though time itself has slowed to match the pace of Victorian life. The candles flicker in their holders, casting soft shadows across the room, while the servants continue to move with quiet precision, each one performing their role in the intricate dance of the evening. The entire meal feels like a play, each participant a character reading from a script, never stepping out of line. By the time dessert arrives, you can feel the weight of the evening bearing down on you. The rich pudding, filled with fruits and spices, sits before you, but you can barely taste it. Your mind is elsewhere, lost in the realization that even in the midst of such beauty and wealth, the Victorians were living in constant peril. Every step they took, every meal they ate, every room they entered was filled with hidden dangers they couldn't even comprehend. As the meal ends, the footman clears the table with practiced efficiency, and you rise from your seat. The formality of the evening is finally over, but the weight of the social obligations lingers. You feel as though you've just completed another act in a never-mind-ascending play, a role you've been cast in whether you like it or not. The constraints of this world are suffocating. And yet, there's no way out. You're stuck in the past, playing your part in a world that's both beautiful and deadly. The maid enters the room once more, this time with a small silver tray bearing a glass of brandy. "For your evening comfort, Mum," she says, offering it to you with a bow. You take the glass, raising it to your lips, the warmth of the alcohol spreading through you. It's a fleeting moment of solace in a world filled with hidden dangers. As you retreat to the drawing room, the soft ticking of the clock on the mantelpiece is the only sound that fills the silence. You sink into the plush armchair by the fire, the warmth from the flames soothing your weary body. But even here, in the comfort of the firelight, the dangers of the Victorian world continue to haunt you. The fire, while offering warmth, could also be a deadly risk if it ever went wrong. The gas lamps, flickering dimly in the corners of the room, are another hidden threat, your potential for disaster ever minus present. The clock ticks on, marking the passage of time in this beautiful, dangerous world. You find yourself reflecting on the resilience of the Victorians, who lived with such perilous knowledge, adapting and surviving in a world that was both breathtaking and terrifying. It's a paradox that you can't quite reconcile. How could they have thrived in such an environment, completely unaware of the dangers that surrounded them? And yet they did. They built their homes, created their art, and lived their lives without ever realizing how precarious their existence truly was. The maid returns, gently knocking on the door, and with a curtsy she informs you that it's time for bed. You nod, feeling the exhaustion from the day's activities catching up with you. The weight of the corset, the formalities, the constant vigilance, it's all becoming too much. You stand, offering her a smile, though it feels more like a mask than anything genuine. As you make your way up the grand staircase, the house feels even more imposing in the darkness. The gas lamps cast long shadows that stretch across the walls, and the creaks and groans of the house seem to echo in the quiet night. You pass by the nursery, where Charlotte is now tucked into bed, and a pang of protectiveness stirs in your chest. She sleeps, unaware of the dangers that lurk in the world around her. For now, she is safe in her dreams. You reach your bedroom, the fire in the hearth now reduced to smoldering embers. The maid assists you in undressing, removing the layers of your gown and loosening the constricting corset. As you slip into the cool sheets, the weight of the day lifts slightly, but the tension still lingers. The room is silent except for the occasional crackle of the fire. You close your eyes, but sleep doesn't come easily. The thoughts of the dangers in this world continue to swirl in your mind, each one a reminder of how fragile life truly is. But eventually, the weariness of the day takes its toll. Your breathing slows, your muscles relax, and you drift off into a restless sleep, the soft flicker of the fire the only comfort in the darkness. The night stretches on in its heavy silence, and you find yourself deep in the unfamiliar rhythms of this Victorian world. The fire in your room slowly dies down to embers, casting long, soft shadows across the walls. The soft ticking of a clock in the corner becomes your only company, its sound rhythmic, almost hypnotic. As the house settles around you, it feels as though the past itself is whispering, lurking in the corners, reminding you of its presence, its dangers. Though you are nestled in the relative safety of your bed, the disquiet remains, a constant reminder of how illusory comfort truly is here. The Victorian world is filled with beauty and refinement, yet hidden beneath its polished surfaces lies a dark and deadly truth. The gaslighting, the lead in the paint, the arsenic in the wallpaper, the dangerous stares, and even the food, everything seems poised to betray you, to bring harm. Your mind drifts back to Charlotte, the innocence of childhood, but under such perilous conditions. A child in this time, particularly one of her status, is expected to grow into the rigid roles the society has prescribed, not just as a woman but as a symbol of that era's suffocating norms. You shift in your bed, pulling the blanket closer to ward off the lingering chill in the air. The weight of the blankets is strangely comforting, a reminder of how things are different now, the modern conveniences you often take for granted, the protections built into every corner of your life. Safety that was so foreign in this time, and yet so vital to our survival today. The way things have evolved, with each generation learning from the dangerous mistakes of the past. As sleep begins to claim you, another thought lingers at the back of your mind. What would it be like to truly experience Victorian life? To be caught in that dangerous web, never realizing that every step, every breath could be your last. The house groans softly, settling with the changing air pressure, and in this quiet, the world feels almost as if it's breathing with you. There's an element of stillness, where everything in the house seems at peace, but it's just an illusion. The dangers remain, as they always do, hidden in the wallpaper, under the floors, in the faint smell of gas that could be slowly poisoning you. Your eyelids flutter and you finally slip into a deep sleep. The dreams that follow are strange, a mix of past and present. You are back in the Victorian home, but now it feels both familiar and foreign. The walls are closing in with their dangers, and yet you are oddly detached, knowing the truth of it all. Somewhere, the ticking of the clock continues, counting the hours as the world sleeps around you. In the morning, you wake with the light creeping in through the curtains. The maid is already at work, preparing for the new day. The morning routine already set in motion. You gradually rise, your body still aching from the constrictions of Victorian fashion. You stretch, feeling the tightness of your corset pulling at your ribs, and yet there's a strange, almost nostalgic comfort in the stiffness of it all. You wonder if the Victorians felt the same sense of security, even in the danger, or if they were as oblivious as you once were. The maid enters with the morning tea, her presence a gentle reminder that the world has changed. The day, much like the one before it, will unfold in its predictable patterns. Breakfast, perhaps a walk, more formal visits, the hidden dangers of the day ready to make their presence known. As you sit up in bed, sipping the tea, you can't help but think of the dangers you've yet to discover. What more lies hidden in this beautiful house? Then what will you learn today about the many ways in which beauty can be deceiving? As the day stretches on, the morning light fills the room, and the soft hum of activity within the house slowly brings you back to the present. The maid, still diligent in her work, comes and goes, preparing for the day's routines. You sip your tea slowly, the bitterness familiar, the warmth settling into your bones. It's strange how something so simple, like the act of waking up, can feel so different in a time so long past. You throw back the heavy blankets, your body still adjusting to the layers of clothing. And as you step onto the cold wooden floor, your breath catches slightly at the chill that seeps through the cracks in the walls. The room is filled with the quiet crackle of the dying fire, the only sound besides a ticking clock that marks the passage of time. Once you've gathered your bearings, the daily ritual begins. The maid enters again, offering to light the fire, a custom that seems both comforting and strange. You nod, grateful for the warmth it will bring, and watch as she bends down to arrange kindling and coal. It's a process that feels timeless, even though you know that it's just one more relic of a past full of unseen dangers, a time when fires were a constant threat, even as they offered warmth and comfort. As the fire crackles to life, you move toward the washed sand, the water in the porcelain basin steaming faintly in the cold morning air. The same routine day after day. But now, after the strange journey you've taken through the house's many dangers, you look at the mundane acts of life with a new perspective. The water that you wash your hands with may be tainted, the soap might contain harsh chemicals, and the air is thick with the dust and smoke of the ever-present fireplace. Even something as simple as washing your face feels like an act of bravery when you remember that, for the Victorians, all of these little daily rituals carried the possibility of hidden threats. As you make your way downstairs, your heavy skirts swishing with every step, you are acutely aware of the steep stairs, each one a potential accident waiting to happen. Victorian architecture, while beautiful, was riddled with hazards. The grand staircase, though well constructed, is still no match for the uneven, narrow servant stairs that were a daily threat to those who lived and worked in the house. The dining room is alive with the bustle of the staff, and the smell of fruit fills the air. Eggs, bacon, toast, such a hearty meal, but you can't help but think about the risks that come with every bite. The sausages, the milk, even the bread, everything comes with its own set of dangers. The milk might be contaminated, the bread may contain chalk or alum, and the sausages are filled with all sorts of unknown fillers. Food safety, after all, was a luxury not yet fully realized in this era. As you sit down to your breakfast, the maid watches, ever-attentive, her read, chapped hands, evidence of the endless labor that she, and so many like her, endure every day. The Victorians, for all their advances, lived in a world where labor was brutal, where survival depended on a system of inequality that stretched into every corner of society. You take a cautious sip of your coffee, its bitterness and strength a reminder of the era's reliance on cheap, adulterated goods. The pasteurization of milk was unheard of, and coffee was often stretched with burnt sugar or barley to make it last longer. The Victorians had no idea that many of the things they consumed could be silently poisoning them. The conversation at the table feels stilted, formal, as though each word is carefully measured and weighed. This was the Victorian way. After all, everything had its proper place and time. You make your way through the meal, carefully avoiding the sausages, opting instead for the eggs and toast. After breakfast, you decide to take a walk, if only to escape the house and its many dangers for a while. The maid presents you with the walking costume, and as you prepare to don it, you can't help but wonder how anyone could manage the complexities of Victorian fashion on a daily basis. The layers, the corset, the bustle, each piece feels like a small prison of its own, but it is required, necessary to maintain your place in society. You make your way outside, the fresh air a welcome relief, though you know that even in the streets dangers abound. The cobblestones are uneven, the streets crowded with people and horse-drawn carriages. The air is thick with the smoke of coal fires, and the sidewalks are littered with horse manure. It's a world that feels both vibrant and depressive. The world where even the simple act of walking outside presents its own set of hazards. As you stroll down the street, you catch sight of other women similarly dressed, their movements constrained by their heavy skirts and tightly laced corsets. The city is alive, but is also a city filled with unseen dangers that the Victorians, for the most part, were unaware of. The gas lighting, the arsenic in the wallpaper, the leaven, the Tories, all of it a quiet, invisible threat that lingers just beneath the surface. You return to the house, feeling the weight of the day's realization settling into your bones. There's beauty in the Victorian world, yes, but there's also a darkness, a danger that lurks in the shadows. The house, despite its grandeur, is a place filled with hidden killers waiting to strike. The Victorians, for all their sophistication, lived in a world that was full of hazards, both seen and unseen. As you head upstairs, your mind drifts to the child you saw earlier, Charlotte. What kind of life will she lead in this world, where so much is controlled by social conventions, by rules that restrict her at every turn? The Victorians were obsessed with appearance, with maintaining a sense of propriety and order, but all of this came at a cost. The women, the children, they were the ones who paid the price for a society that valued from over function, beauty over safety. You sit in the drawing room, the soft crackle of the fire filling the space as you reflect on everything you've learned in the past day. The wallpaper, the gas lamps, the food, the medicine, it all seemed so innocent, so beautiful on the surface, but underneath it's a world full of dangers. Hidden killers that the Victorians never saw coming. But even as you sit there, you can't help but feel a strange sense of gratitude. For all the dangers of the Victorian world, it was a time of resilience. The Victorians, in their ignorance, survived and thrived in a world that would have broken many. They adapted, they persevered, and in doing so, they paved the way for the world we live in today. You close your eyes, letting the warmth of the fire seep into your bones, and allow yourself a moment of peace. The day may be full of dangers, but for now, you are safe. Tomorrow will bring more discoveries, more hidden threats, but for now the night is calm, and the dangers of the past are a distant memory. You settle into your chair, letting the peace of the moment wash over you. As you prepare to face another day in this beautiful, treacherous Victorian world, as the evening stretches on, the house slowly quiets, the bustle of the day fading into a hushed calm. The gas lamps flicker dimly in the drawing room, their soft glow casting long shadows on the walls. The air feels heavier now, charged with the warmth of the fading fire and the chill of the darkening night outside. The delicate ticking of the clock on the mantelpiece is the only sound that accompanies you as you settle deeper into the plush armchair. Your thoughts drift to the events of the day, how each seemingly simple aspect of life in this Victorian home is layered with hidden dangers. The wallpaper, once so beautiful, now seems sinister with its toxic arsenic hue. The delicate glass of your teacup feels fragile in your hands, the porcelain smooth yet tinged with the potential for harm in every crack, every flaw, every chemical in the glaze. You run your fingers obstinately over the fabric of your dress, feeling the rough texture of the silk that wraps tightly around your waist. Every aspect of your clothing is restrictive, designed not for comfort but for display. You think of the corset, the unyielding pressure it exerts, a constant reminder of the beauty standards that have shaped women for generations. A soft knock at the door pulls you from your musings. The maid enters, her presence a quiet comfort in the silence. "Will you be joining the family for dinner, Mum?" She asks with the polite formality that's so ingrained in the Victorian way of life. You nod, though the thought of another long evening of formal dining fills you with a quiet sense of exhaustion. Intricate rituals, the never-mind ascending customs, they weigh heavily on you. Yet you cannot escape them. In this world, to ignore the rules is to risk losing your place in society. The grand dining room awaits, set with shining crystal, polished silver, and perfectly arranged place settings. The long table stretches before you, a symbol of the wealth and status that your Victorian self possesses. You wonder briefly about the servants who work behind the scenes. Their lives so different from yours. Their labor is a silent foundation for the comfort you enjoy. Dinner unfolds slowly, each course a calculated performance, from the delicate soup to the game in vegetables, served with the precision of a practiced hand. You make polite conversation, your mind wandering as you focus on maintaining the outward appearance of a composed, proper Victorian lady. The conversations are filled with pleasant reasons, small talk, the clinking of utensils against fine china, the only sound between moments of silence. After the meal, you retreat back to the drawing room, where the fires are burning low and the gas lamps have been dimmed for the night. The weight of your day has settled heavily on your shoulders, and you long for the comfort of sleep. Yet, there's a lingering sense of unease, a feeling that, despite all the luxuries of the home, something darker lingers just beneath the surface. You find yourself once again contemplating the hidden dangers that have made their presence known today. The arsenic in the wallpaper, the lead in the toys, the gas leaks that could easily turn deadly, the food and drink that, despite all appearances, could be contaminated or adulterated. The more you think about it, the more the world around you feels like a fragile illusion, a house of cards built on beauty and convenience, but just waiting for the slightest misstep to collapse. Despite the safety of your modern home and the protections that have come with time, the realization that these hidden killers once lurked in every corner of the Victorian world leaves you unsettled. The past was a time of resilience, yes, but it was also a time of ignorance, of living with dangers that people couldn't even begin to understand. The house is quiet now, the soft crackling of the dying fire the only noise in the otherwise still room. The flickering light casts gentle shadows on the walls, painting the room in a soft, golden glow. Your body is heavy with the weight of the corset, the layers of clothing, the evening's formalities. You rise slowly, feeling the strain in your back from the day's hours spent in stiff garments. As you make your way toward the stairs, you feel the weight of the day pressing down on you. The grand staircase, though majestic, feels imposing in the dim light. The shadows seem to stretch unnaturally as you ascend, each step a reminder of the potential dangers hidden in this old house. You reach the top and make your way to your bedroom, where the maid has already turned down the bed, the covers invitingly warm and soft. You slip into the bed. The softness of the pillow a relief after a day spent navigating the restrictions of Victorian life. The weight of the blankets pulls you into the mattress, and for a moment, you allow yourself to relax, to forget the many hidden dangers that you've uncovered in this world. Your breath slows, your body sinking into the warmth of the bed, the fire burning low in the hearth, offering the only light in the room. But even as you begin to drift off to sleep, a soft creak from the hallway catches your attention. The house is never truly silent, always alive with the creaks and groans of age, the sounds of a building that has witnessed countless lives, countless stories. And yet, you cannot shake the feeling that something is waiting, lurking in the shadows. Your eyelids grow heavier, the sound of the house fading as sleep takes over. The world outside, the dangers, the fears, all seem to dissolve into the darkness as you slip deeper into rest. For now you are safe, cocooned in the warmth of your modern world, far from the hidden killers of the past. But tomorrow, will bring new challenges, new dangers to uncover in this strange, beautiful, and treacherous world of the Victorians. And when you wake, you'll carry with you a deeper appreciation for the safety and comforts of the present, a gratitude for the lessons learned, the dangers discovered, and the resilience of those who lived before you. The past may be full of hidden killers, but it's also full of stories that shape the world we live in today. With that thought, you finally surrender to the embrace of sleep, knowing that in the morning, the journey through time will continue, with all its dangers and revelations. As the evening stretches on, the house slowly quiets, the bustle of the day fading into a hushed calm. The gas lamps flicker dimly in the drawing room, their soft glow casting long shadows on the walls. The air feels heavier now, charged with the warmth of the fading fire and the chill of the darkening night outside. The delicate ticking of the clock on the mantelpiece is the only sound that accompanies you as you settle deeper into the plush armchair. Your thoughts drift to the events of the day, how each seemingly simple aspect of life in this Victorian home is layered with hidden dangers. The wallpaper, once so beautiful, now seems sinister with its toxic arsenic hue. The delicate glass of your teacup feels fragile in your hands. The porcelain smooth yet tinged with the potential for harm in every crack, every flaw, every chemical in the glaze. You run your fingers obstinately over the fabric of your dress, feeling the rough texture of the silk that wraps tightly around your waist. Every aspect of your clothing is restrictive, designed not for comfort but for display. You think of the corset, the unyielding pressure it exerts, a constant reminder of the beauty standards that have shaped women for generations. A soft knock at the door pulls you from your musings. The maid enters, her presence a quiet comfort in the silence. "Will you be joining the family for dinner, Mum?" she asks with the polite formality that's so ingrained in the Victorian way of life. You nod, though the thought of another long evening of formal dining fills you with a quiet sense of exhaustion. The intricate rituals, the never-mind-ascending customs, they weigh heavily on you. Yet, you cannot escape them. In this world, to ignore the rules is to risk losing your place in society. The grand dining room awaits, set with shining crystal, polished silver, and perfectly arranged place settings. The long table stretches before you, a symbol of the wealth and status that your Victorian self possesses. You wonder briefly about servants who work behind the scenes, their lives so different from yours. Their labor a silent foundation for the comfort you enjoy. Dinner unfolds slowly, each course a calculated performance, from the delicate soup to the game and vegetables served with the precision of a practiced hand. You make polite conversation, your mind wandering as you focus on maintaining the outward appearance of a composed, proper Victorian lady. The conversations are filled with pleasant reasoned small talk, the clinking of utensils against fine china the only sound between moments of silence. After the meal, you retreat back to the drawing room, where the fires are burning low and the gas lamps have been dimmed for the night. The weight of your day has settled heavily on your shoulders, and you long for the comfort of sleep. Yet there's a lingering sense of unease, a feeling that, despite all the luxuries of the home, something darker lingers just beneath the surface. You find yourself once again contemplating the hidden dangers that have made their presence known today. The arsenic in the wallpaper, the lead in the toys, the gas leaks that could easily turn deadly, the food and drink that, despite all appearances, could be contaminated or adulterated. The more you think about it, the more the world around you feels like a fragile illusion, a house of cards built on beauty and convenience, but just waiting for the slightest misstep to collapse. despite the safety of your modern home and the protections that have come with time. The realization that these hidden killers once lurked in every corner of the Victorian world leaves you unsettled. The past was a time of resilience, yes, but it was also a time of ignorance of living with dangers that people couldn't even begin to understand. The house is quiet now, the soft crackling of the dying fire the only noise in the otherwise still room. The flickering light cast gentle shadows on the walls, painting the room in a soft, golden glow. Your body is heavy with the weight of the corset, the layers of clothing, the evening's formalities. You rise slowly, feeling the strain in your back from the day's hours spent in stiff garments. As you make your way toward the stairs, you feel the weight of the day pressing down on you. The grand staircase, though majestic, feels imposing in the dim light. The shadows seem to stretch unnaturally as you ascend, each step a reminder of the potential dangers hidden in this old house. You reach the top and make your way to your bedroom, where the maid has already turned down the bed, the covers invitingly warm and soft. You slip into the bed, the softness of the pillow a relief after a day spent navigating the restrictions of Victorian life. The weight of the blankets pulls you into the mattress, and for a moment, you allow yourself to relax, to forget the many hidden dangers that you've uncovered in this world. Your breath slows, your body sinking into the warmth of the bed, the fire burning low and the hearth offering the only light in the room. But even as you begin to drift off to sleep, a soft creak from the hallway catches your attention. The house is never truly silent, always alive with the creaks and groans of age, the sounds of a building that has witnessed countless lives, countless stories. And yet, you cannot shake the feeling that something is waiting, lurking in the shadows. Your eyelids grow heavier, the sound of the house fading as sleep takes over. The world outside, the dangers, the fears, all seem to dissolve into the darkness as you slip deeper into rest. For now you are safe, cocooned in the warmth of your modern world, far from the hidden killers of the past. But tomorrow, will bring new challenges, new dangers to uncover in this strange, beautiful, and treacherous world of the Victorians. And when you wake, you'll carry with you a deeper appreciation for the safety and comforts of the present, a gratitude for the lessons learned, the dangers discovered, and the resilience of those who lived before you. The past may be full of hidden killers, but it's also full of stories that shape the world we live in today. With that thought, you finally surrender to the embrace of sleep, knowing that in the morning, the journey through time will continue, with all its dangers and revelations. The night stretches on in a peaceful, yet unsettling quiet. As you lie in bed, the flickering glow from the dying fire offers the only illumination in the room. The silence is nearly absolute, save for the occasional creak from the old house, reminding you that even the most beautiful homes had their secrets, dangerous ones, carefully hidden behind layers of elegance and luxury. Your eyes slowly flutter open as the first light of dawn creeps in, soft and pale against the heavy curtains. The world outside is still, wrapped in the early morning fog that lingers over the cobblestone streets. For a moment, you feel disoriented, unsure of where you are. But then, the weight of the corset around your ribs, the pressure of the layers of clothing, floods back, reminding you that you're not in your own bed, but within the grasp of the Victorian world, its dangers and all. A soft knock at the door pulls you from your reverie, and the maid enters, her presence as polite and unobtrusive as ever. "Good morning, Mum," she says with a curtsy. "It's 7. Would you like your morning tea brought to you?" You nod, appreciating the formality, the ritual that defines this world. The maid leaves and you rise, stretching carefully beneath the weight of the heavy blankets. The room is cold despite the fire that still flickers weakly in the hearth. You make your way to the washstand, avoiding the charred floorboards as best as you can. The porcelain basin gleams softly in the dim morning light. You splash your face with the cold water, trying to wake your senses, trying to shake off the heaviness that seems to hang over you, much like the unseen threats that lurk everywhere in this home. As you wait for your tea, your thoughts drift once again to the dangerous undercurrents of Victorian life. You think about the arsenic in the wallpaper, the lead in the paint, the coal dust in the air, and the opiates in the medicine cabinet. How could they have lived like this? Unaware of the hazards surrounding them, trusting in the materials, the innovations, the comforts that were offered to them, yet living with the constant risk of poisoning, suffocation, or disease. You realize now, as you did last night, how much your own world, your modern world, has evolved to protect against such hidden dangers. The maid returns with your tea, the fragrant steam rising from the pot in delicate curls. She sets the tray down beside you and pours the hot liquid into a fine china cup. The warmth is welcome, though it doesn't completely ease the unsettling tension that lingers in your chest. You take a sip, feeling the strong, bitter tea flood your senses, though it doesn't fully shake the fog of unease. As you drink, you can't help but wonder, how much do we take for granted? How much safety and comfort are built on years, decades, and centuries of trial and error, of learning from the mistakes of those who came before? The Victorians, for all their wealth and grandeur, lived in an age of ignorance, unaware of the hidden killers they invited into their homes. And yet, they adapted and thrived, just as we do today. You take another sip of your tea and set the cup down on the tray. The maid is left, and the house is once again quiet. The light is creeping higher, the golden warmth of the day beginning to push away the lingering shadows of night. The morning has arrived in full, and it's time to face another day in this strange, fascinating world. You rise from your chair and make your way toward the wardrobe, considering your clothing for the day. The layers of the Victorian wardrobe seem endless: petticoats, corsets, dresses, shoes, all designed to restrict movement, to impose an image of propriety. You begin the process of dressing, tugging at the stiff fabric, adjusting the corset with careful, deliberate movements, knowing that once again you'll be held captive by the weight of it all. As you pull on the layers, you think back to the many things you've discovered about this time. From the quaint yet dangerous bathroom to the poison-filled toys of the nursery. Even the simple act of dressing feels like an act of surrender in this world, a world where every movement, every action, seems burdened with a sense of hidden peril. When you are finally dressed, the maid returns, ready to assist with your daily routines. Breakfast is set for later, and your walk in the garden is already being prepared by the servants. The constant rhythm of daily life continues, each moment measured and timed with strict precision. The weight of Victorian and etiquette and class structure is inescapable. You walk through the grand halls, down the stairs once more, the soft creaks of the wooden floors beneath your feet reminding you of the house's age. The once majestic staircase feels even more imposing in the quiet morning light, and the soft glow of the gas lamps in the hallway flickers, though ready to fade into darkness at any moment. You think again of the hidden dangers that lie behind every beautiful surface, how the ornate beauty of this home hides the shadows of illness, death, and decay that so many Victorians unknowingly invited into their lives. You step outside into the morning air, the cold biting at your cheeks as you make your way toward the garden. The world beyond the house feels different, freer, in a way that you are still conscious of the restrictions that Victorian life places on you. The tight corset, the heavy skirts, the ever-present expectation of propriety, they're all a reminder of the world you must navigate with care. The garden is peaceful, though, with flowers just beginning to bloom under the light touch of the early morning sun. You take in a deep breath, feeling the fresh air fill your lungs. Here, away from the house, away from the hidden threats that linger in every corner, you feel a momentary sense of relief. And yet, even here, there are dangers. The beautiful flowers you admire may be soaked in Paris green, the very same arsenic compound that has poisoned so many before you. The soft earth beneath your feet may be laced with toxins you cannot see, cannot know. You wander through the garden, your mind heavy with thoughts of the past and the present. What else might the Victorians have lived with unknowingly? How many dangers did they accept as part of daily life, simply because they couldn't know any better? The answers remain elusive, just as the hidden dangers of their world still lurk just out of sight. As you return to the house, you can't help but wonder what awaits you inside. Another day in this beautiful, dangerous world, a world that, despite all its hidden threats, remains a testament to human resilience and adaptation. The sounds of servants bustling inside greet you as you step through the door, and the rhythm of the day begins again. Another breakfast, another series of rituals, and another round of hidden killers waiting in plain sight. But for now, you've experienced enough. The reminders of the Victorian dangers you've uncovered linger in your mind as you move through the house, navigating its complex and often suffocating world. Each new step forward brings with it a deeper understanding of the past, a past that, while full of beauty, was also full of unseen threats. As you re-enter the house, the comforting yet haunting familiarity of its structure pulls you in once more. The sounds of servants attending to their duties reverberate throughout the halls, the clink of silverware, the rustle of cleaning cloths, the murmurs of quiet conversation. The house, now alive with activity, seems almost to breathe with its own rhythm. Each moment of the day dictated by the precision of Victorian protocol. You walk further into the entrance hall, your footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. The gas lamps are lit once more, casting an amber glow across the ornate wallpaper, which, though beautiful, still reminds you of the lurking dangers. The intricate patterns seem to almost shift in the light, like they're hiding something just beyond reach. The maid enters as if on cue, her presence so habitual that you barely notice it anymore. "Your breakfast is ready, Mum," she says with her customary curtsy. She leads you to the formal dining room, a space as grand as it is intimidating. The long, polished oak table gleams in the soft light, set with fine china and crystal, its surface reflecting the gaslight in a way that makes the room feel slightly unreal, as if you've stepped into a painting. You take your seat, the silver cutlery gleaming in front of you. The Victorian breakfast spread is expansive with eggs, fresh bread, sausages, and bacon, all prepared with the utmost care, though you know better than to trust everything on the table. The food may be rich and abundant, but your mind cannot shake the memories of questionable additives and unsanitary practices that lurked in the food and milk. You begin to eat, your movements slow as you adjust to the constraints of your corset. The layers of clothing seem heavier with each passing moment, each piece binding you further into this world that, though full of beauty, feels so fraught with peril. Even the simplest actions, sitting, eating, breathing, are reminders of how tightly everything is controlled here. The maid, noticing your pause, refills your cup with the ever-present tea. Its bitterness has become almost comforting, a stark contrast to the subtle sweetness you'd expect in modern tea. You wonder how much of this, too, is another hidden element of Victorian life, hidden poisons, silently altering the course of a day, a life, a generation. As the meal progresses, you find yourself studying the intricacies of the room, the delicate porcelain vases and the heavy draperies that sweep from the ceiling to the floor. The decorative flourishes speak of wealth and power, but you know that the luxurious fabrics, the vibrant colors, are all products of a time that had no concept of the hazards they carried with them. The dyes, the materials, even the cleaning processes all held their dangers, whether from arsenic or lead, often unseen, unnoticed. By the time you finish breakfast, the air feels thick with the weight of the day. Each moment is governed by a silent awareness of the unseen, unspoken dangers that fill the house. The walls, both literal and metaphorical, close in just a little more with each passing hour. You step away from the table and walk toward the back of the house, your mind still heavy with thoughts of the morning and its dangers. As you pass through the hall, the contrast between the opulent rooms and the servant quarters becomes stark once more. You catch a glimpse of the maid, her face flushed and hands red from work, as she moves between the rooms, attending to tasks both mundane and grueling. The social hierarchy of the house is undeniable, even as the house itself looms large and suffocating around you. The further you move through the house, the more the tension mounts, and the more you sense the hidden dangers lurking in every corner. The old wooden floors creak beneath your feet, and the gas lamps, though warm and inviting, still flicker uneasily in their brass fixtures. You feel the constricting weight of the corset with each step, a constant reminder of the way this world is designed to bind you both physically and socially. The drawing room, a place of formal conversations and gatherings, offers a brief respite. The furniture here is plush, inviting, and the air smells faintly of beeswax, perhaps from the polish on the wooden furniture. But even this room is not free from the silent dangers of the time. The drapes, though beautiful, are soaked in dyes that could poison if touched too frequently. The finely upholstered chairs, though comfortable, have likely been stuffed with materials that could carry disease if not carefully maintained. Your gaze drifts across the room, focusing for a moment on the array of objects arranged on the mantelpiece, small statues, vases, and trinkets, each one of them a product of this time, beautiful and intriguing, yet carrying their own hidden risks. Some of the objects may be made of materials that contain lead. Others are probably crafted with dyes or paints containing arsenic, mercury, or other toxic substances. The realization settles in once more: every object, every surface, every part of this house carries the weight of dangers that only future generations would come to understand. This house, like every other Victorian home, is a delicate dance between beauty and risk, form and function, luxury and peril. With a soft sigh, you make your way back to the hallway, your steps lighten now that you're away from the dining room. The maid greets you again, curtsying and offering to fetch whatever you need for the rest of your day. You're not absolutely lost in thought, your mind still reeling from the dangers you've uncovered. As you prepare to move toward the staircase, the sound of a distant bell rings, signaling the next event of the day, the formal gathering in the morning room, where social calls and business matters are handled with the utmost precision. The ritual of Victorian life presses on, relentlessly structured, but beneath it all, the hidden killers wait silent, invisible, on a canoed lead. You take one final glance at the grand staircase before ascending, knowing that with each step, you're navigating through a world full of unseen threats. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to wake up one morning in a Victorian home? Well, let's step into 1870s England for a moment. Imagine opening your eyes to complete darkness, not the kind of darkness where you can make out shapes from the glow of streetlight or your phone's screen, but true, heavy darkness, thick as a blanket. The bed you're lying in isn't the soft memory foam you know. No, it's a lumpy, uncomfortable mattress filled with horsehair. The springs, actual metal springs, broke your back in places you'd rather they didn't. You shift, hoping to find comfort, but that rustling sound isn't your sheets, it's the strop act inside the mattress, giving a layer of cushion. Cozy, right? You take a deep breath, and the air feels strange, heavier, colder, maybe even a little musty, with smoke, coal dust, and that unmistakable scent of wax candles linger in the air. The room feels colder than you expect. Even the wealthiest of Victorian homes didn't have central heating, just fireplaces, none of which are lit yet. Suddenly, you hear a soft, purposeful tapping of footsteps coming up a wooden staircase, followed by a flickering candlelight creeping under your door. The door creaks open, revealing a young maid in a plain black dress and white apron, a candle in her hand, ready to start your day by lighting the fire. "Good morning, ma'am," she says with a respectful curtsy. "It's 6th, shall I light your fire?" Before you can respond, she's already working on the fireplace, setting the kindling and coal in place. Within moments, the fire crackles to life, and a small warmth fills the room. Cook says breakfast will be at 8. Will you be needing a bath this morning? A bath? The thought sounds pleasant until you remember Victorian bathing wasn't quite what you're used to. Servants would haul water up from the kitchen, fill a metal tub placed by the fire, and then stand around while you washed. Privacy, not so much. "No, just some water for washing, please," you reply, trying to avoid the extra hassle. The maid nods and returns shortly with a porcelain pitcher of steaming water. A towel is laid out beside it, ready for your use. "Will there be anything else, ma'am?" she asks. "No, thank you," you manage to say, before swinging your legs off the side of the bed. Your feet hit the cold wooden floor. No plush carpets, just thin rugs scattered around, doing little to ward off the chill. As you get dressed, you notice just how many layers you're required to wear. The corset alone feels like a puzzle, and the petticoats, even more complicated. But before you can get too frustrated, it's time for a quick bathroom break if you can find one. There's no ensuite, just a discreet chamber pot under the bed. Charming, right? You manage to get dressed, though it's a bit of a struggle. The corset's still not tight enough, but it'll have to do for now. As you make your way out of the room, you step into a hallway with ornate, patterned wallpaper. Deep green with gold accents, beautiful. But there's something you should know: the Victorians used arsenic to make that color pop. Less green, they called it, a pigment that was toxic. It leached into the air when damp or heated. A constant health risk, but nobody realized it at the time. Mental note: no licking the walls. As you head downstairs, gripping the banister to steady yourself on the steep stairs, you can't help but think about the hidden dangers around you. A grand staircase for visitors, sure, but the back stairs, uneven and dangerous. One wrong step and you could be in trouble. The entrance hall is dimly lit, with gas lamps casting an eerie glow. Gas lighting was a big deal in the Victorian era, but it came with its own risks. Gas leaks were common and deadly, but that's nothing compared to the smell of breakfast wafting down the hallway: bacon, fresh bread, and strong coffee. A meal you wouldn't want to miss. The Victorians didn't believe in light breakfasts, so the spread set out for you is impressive: eggs, bacon, sausages, fish, toast, muffins, jam, and a silver pot of strong coffee. Breakfast for one, apparently. You sit down, and a maid is there to serve you. "Tea or coffee, ma'am?" she asks. You opt for the coffee despite it being far too strong and bitter. Victorian coffee was oft unstretched with chicory or burnt sugar. And the milk? Well, it wasn't pasteurized, so you decide to skip that. As you sit down, you eye the plate in front of you, cautiously picking at the food. The bread at least seems safe, fresh and not too dry. But the sausages? You're not quite sure what's inside them, and you're not about to take chances with Victorian food safety. After all, the Victorians didn't exactly have modern food regulations. Bread was often adulterated with chalk or alum to make it whiter. Sausages might include anything from questionable meats to fillers that no one bothered to mention. The tea? Sometimes it was found to contain iron filings to make it look like higher minus quality black tea. Charming. As you eat, you scan the room. Victorian interiors are certainly opulent, though the sheer amount of stuff everywhere is almost overwhelming. The Victorians loved their knickknacks, photographs, small sculptures, books, vases, and decorative boxes clutter every surface. It's all incredibly beautiful, but you can't shake the feeling that even the decorative elements could be hiding something deadly. For example, you glance over to the fireplace, where a silver candelabra catches the light. The Victorians were obsessed with silver, and it was common to see these kinds of items adorning their homes. However, they also had a tendency to treat their silverware with lead-based polish to maintain that shiny finish. This was all part of the elaborate and often dangerous world. They built for themselves pretty things with a hidden cost. At the table, you notice that Charlotte, who is seated across from you, is eating her breakfast with an intensity that's almost too perfect. For someone of her age, the formalities seem over minus the minus dot. A polite smile, sitting up straight, chewing in tiny bites. She's been raised to be the perfect little lady. The Victorians were all about control, particularly with children, and Charlotte's every move is being monitored by her governess. Will you be receiving any visitors today, ma'am? The maid interrupts your thoughts, holding up a small silver tray with calling cards. Visitors. Of course. The constant social obligations. Mrs. Henderson is calling to discuss the charity bazaar. You nod and take the card, already preparing yourself for the formalities of another Victorian social encounter. At least these visits keep you from having to think too much about the hidden dangers that lie within the walls of this house. Before you can respond, the maid leaves, and you're left with a few quiet moments to yourself. You sip your coffee, trying to adjust to the odd, almost unreal world you found yourself in. The strange smells, the ever-present chill, and the oppressive weight of Victorian etiquette. It's all a lot to process. Charlotte finishes her breakfast and politely excuses herself. As the governess takes her away for her lessons, you can't help but reflect on the reality of the life Charlotte will have. She's living in a world that expects her to be quiet, compliant, and poised, constantly performing to fit the ideal of the proper Victorian lady. How much of her life will be dictated by this society's expectations? You sigh and look out the window, the pale morning sun casting long shadows across the cobblestone street. As you gaze at the bustling scene outside, the realization hits you that this is a world where danger lurks in places you would never expect. Whether it's the food, the air, or even the objects in your home, everything is fraught with potential harm. The Victorians couldn't have known it at the time, but their beautiful, decorative world was slowly killing them in ways they couldn't begin to understand. The wallpaper is a good example. Even as you admire the lovely floral pattern, you know that the vibrant green coloring is actually the deadly Paris green, an arsenic-based dye that could make people sick over time. It was all the rage at the time, used in everything from curtains to clothing, and even children's toys. But no one realized they were slowly poisoning themselves with every breath they took. You shake your head, trying to focus on the here and now. Today, you'll explore more of this grand home. You'll likely uncover more hidden dangers, like the kitchen, where servants prepare meals with boiling water and open flames, or the servants' quarters where coal dust and smoke contribute to respiratory illnesses. It's a life fraught with risk, but in the end, it's a life they've come to accept. Shall we go for a walk in the park, ma'am? The maid asks, her voice breaking your thoughts. The idea of stepping out into the fresh air is tempting, but you know it's not entirely safe either. The streets are filled with manure, the air thick with coal smoke, and if it rains, the dyes in your clothing might start leaching toxic chemicals onto your skin. Still, it's better than staying inside. Yes, you say, standing up from the table. A walk sounds nice. The maid helps you into your walking costume, another layer of clothing to make sure you fit the proper Victorian image. Your corset is tightened, your bustle in place, and a hat with feathers it's atop your head. You look every bit the part of a fashionable lady, though it's hard to breathe in this contraption. You step outside, carefully navigating the uneven cobblestone streets, the bustle of the city a reminder of the world you're in. The park is peaceful at least. As you walk through it, you try to enjoy the moment, but the thought of all the hidden dangers around you never quite leaves your mind. The park is an oasis amidst the industrial chaos of Victorian life. As you stroll along the path, surrounded by trees and well-minus kept flowered, it's hard not to appreciate the beauty of nature. But even here, danger lurks. You can't help but wonder about the pesticides used to keep the garden so pristine. Paris green arsenic minus based, of course, was often sprayed on plants to ward off pests. The very flowers you're admiring could have been treated with something that would have poisoned you if you'd gotten too close. The air is colder than you'd like, and though the corset is tighter than is comfortable, the thick layers of your dress offer some protection from the chill. The wind, however, makes your nose tingle. The city's smog is never too far behind. The coal smoke that rises from the chimneys of factories and homes coats everything in a greyish film. In the distance, the unmistakable yellow of the fog is creeping toward you. It's London's infamous fog, created by a toxic mix of coal smoke and natural fog that hangs in the air, slowly suffocating the city. Beautiful, isn't it? A voice says, breaking through your thoughts. It's a gentleman tipping his top hat politely as he passes by, one of the few people outside at this hour. Yes, you reply, smiling faintly, but the back of your mind is still churning with concerns. As you continue your walk, you begin to appreciate the meticulous design of the park. The Victorians certainly knew how to construct beautiful spaces meant to elevate the senses and offer respite from the hardships of city life. Yet again, there's a dark undercurrent. People come to these parks to escape the dangers of their homes, but even the parks, with all their beauty, can't shield them from the lurking risks they face every day. You pass by a flower vendor who is cheerfully selling bouquets of roses, lilies, and violets. The fragrances are intoxicating, but they don't hide the thought in your mind just how much of this beauty is poisoned by toxic dyes and chemicals. A bouquet of roses might be drenched in arsenic or mercury-based dyes, both of which were common in Victorian-era flower arrangements. Lovely day for a walk, isn't it? A lady says as she passes, cast in a similar walking costume to yours, complete with her own parasol. Her smile is warm, but there's a sense of fragility about her, as though she too is aware of the fragile, dangerous world they all inhabit. Indeed, you answer, trying to hide the unease you feel. There's nothing quite like the weight of corsets and the anxiety of toxins in the air to make a walk feel less like a leisurely escape and more like a ticking clock, counting down to an inevitable, unseen consequence. As you continue walking, your mind wanders to the notion of Victorian health. It was just about the immediate dangers like the food or the leaded paint. It was the slow, creeping damage done over time by all the exposure to toxins, chemicals, and unsafe practices. People lived in a perpetual state of harm without even knowing it. Some would grow ill from the arsenic in their homes, others would die from the coal fumes, the bacteria in their milk, or the toxic medicines they took. Yet, life went on. You find yourself at the edge of the park, where a small bridge crosses over a river. You lean against the stone rail, gazing out over the water, which is slowly but surely turning into a grayish-brown sludge. The river is polluted with the very things the Victorians unknowingly dumped into its sewage, industrial waste, chemicals. How many people drank from this water before they realized the dangers of contamination? Your reflection in the water seems almost sterile. A woman in elaborate dress, a corset tightening her waist, holding a parasol against the sun. But beneath the polished exterior, the dangerous world is still there, a ticking time bomb. "Are you all right, Mum?" a concerned voice asks. A servant perhaps, or another passerby noticing your long pause. You nod, not trusting yourself to speak. How could they understand the overwhelming weight of knowledge that hangs over every single thing in this world? You take a deep breath and turn back toward the path, heading toward the gates. The walk is over. You've seen enough for now. There's a world beyond the park where hidden dangers still wait. The city beyond is still bustling, though its beauty is overshadowed by its dangers. The cobblestone streets are filled with carriages, but you notice the wheels are covered in mud, which will no doubt leave tracks all over the floors of the homes. You glance at the gutters, which are clogged with the detritus of daily life, broken bottles, wrappers, scraps of food, and discarded waste. It's all part of the invisible peril of the city, the constant exposure to things that will, at best, make you sick, and at worst, bring you to an early grave. Back inside, you're greeted by the maid who offers you a cup of tea. It's warm, comforting even, but you can't help but feel a twinge of doubt. What's in it? Could the tea have been made from leaves treated with chemicals? Were the cups lead-minus glazed? It's the kind of thing the Victorians never thought to question. You set the tea aside for a moment, looking around. The wallpaper in the drawing room is stunning, a soft floral pattern in pale blues and creams. But you know the truth, it's likely laced with chemicals. Paris green, perhaps, or some other deadly dye. The silver candelabra on the table glints in the dim light, but what about the polish on it? Was it treated with lead or arsenic? The very air you breathe in this house is filled with the traces of past decisions, choices made in ignorance, in the name of beauty without knowledge of the hidden costs. You sit back in your chair, realizing just how far we've come from this dangerous past. You wonder, though, how much of today's world will be viewed with the same horror by future generations. What hidden killers exist in our modern homes that we take for granted? You sit back in the ornate chair, deep in thought. The surrounding luxurious decor and finely crafted furniture, which once seemed so dazzling, no longer feel quite so appealing. Every icon, every wall, every lamp seems to carry with it a history of hidden dangers, silently waiting to strike. What was once seen as a symbol of civility and elegance is now recognized for what it truly was: a collection of poisons, hazards, and deadly traps. Once again, you survey your surroundings. The beautiful floral patterns on the wallpaper, the warm hues, they look so inviting in the sunlight. But you know too well that behind this beauty, his colors might hide arsenic. That vibrant Paris green that was widely used in decorating homes in the Victorian era. It was laden with deadly toxins, and the Victorians had no idea. You turn toward the mirror by the fireplace where your reflection stares back. For a moment, you wonder if you too have been entranced by the facade of beauty, just as the Victorians must have been. They lived in a world where everything appeared perfect, until they learned it too late of the dangers lurking beneath the surface. And now, here you are, no longer in the illusion, but deeply aware of the risks and poisons hiding in plain sight. Again you look around. Those seemingly harmless walls, with their rich floral designs and warm tones, could be slowly killing you. That delightful wallpaper, arsenic-minus laced. That charming furniture, perhaps preserved with mercury. Even the air you breathe carries the weight of dangers they never knew. It's overwhelming to consider the depth of peril woven into the fabric of everyday life. You begin to reflect on how the Victorians were resilient, adapting to a world full of risks. They lived among poisons, dangerous medicines, faulty plumbing, and unpredictable hazards, yet they managed to create some of the most beautiful art and architecture the world has ever seen. That for all their resilience, they were trapped in their ignorance, unable to foresee the long-term effects of the very technologies they embraced. As you sit in your modern home today, the comfort of knowing that we've learned from these past mistakes comes with its own set of realizations. While we no longer face toxic wallpaper or deadly gas lighting, our world is still filled with unseen dangers, just different ones. The unsettling feeling from this realization settles over you. How many things do we still unknowingly live with that future generations will one day regard with horror? But even with these dangers, one thing becomes clear: we are incredibly fortunate. Our modern world is shaped by lessons learned from the past, the same past we've just seen through the eyes of a Victorian household. Our homes are filled with safety features we take for granted: firearms, carbon monoxide detectors, regulated medicines, and safe building codes. You stand and walk toward the window, pushing it open. A brief gust of fresh air fills your lungs, easing the tightness in your chest. The bustling sounds of the street drift up to you. Carriages, the clink of horses' hooves on cobblestone, the hum of modern life. You take in the contrast. Despite all the advancements we've made in safety, we can't help but be drawn back to a time when even the most seemingly innocuous things were life-threatening. You turn your attention back to the room. It's still beautiful, still charming in its own way. But now, you view it through a different lens, one that understands the price of beauty, the cost of progress. For the Victorians, the world was full of hidden killers, and they simply did not know. For us, our homes are much safer, but still, we live alongside dangers that we're only beginning to understand. As you sit down once more, the weight of this realization settles in. We may have evolved, but our modern lives, just like the Victorians, are shaped by the unknown. The hidden killers of their world are long gone, but who's to say that the world we live in today will not be just as dangerous to those who come after us? You pause for a moment, thinking about the future, and then about the present. You're safe now, but how long will it last? With that question in mind, you settle into your comfortable chair, feeling the warmth of the room around you. The world is full of hidden dangers, but for now, at least you are safe, living in the hard-earned comfort of a modern home. You exhale, feeling at peace in your time. As you sink deeper into the comfort of your modern surroundings, you feel a sense of relief. The soft hum of the heating system, the warmth of the electric lights, it all feels so different from the stark, unpredictable dangers of the Victorian world. You can't help but appreciate the small luxuries that come with modern life, things you've always taken for granted. The safety of your surroundings is something that you know deep down was earned through centuries of hardship, experimentation, and sometimes tragic mistakes. Yet, despite this comfort, there's a nagging thought in the back of your mind. What dangers do we face today that we're unaware of, just as the Victorians were? The idea is unsettling, but it's the nature of progress. Every new innovation brings its risks, often hidden beneath layers of promise and progress. But for now, you are free from the choking smoke of coal miners burning fireplaces, the ever-present threat of arsenic in the walls, and the eerie flicker of gas lamps threatening to explode in the night. Instead, you are surrounded by technology that protects you in ways the Victorians could never have imagined: smoke detectors, fire alarms, carbon monoxide monitors, and regulated building codes. You stand up and stretch, feeling the weight of the day begin to ease. The reality of your time feels almost surreal now, especially after having lived in the world of the past, if only for a moment. It's hard to shake the sense of having seen something forbidden, something unknown, and yet, so intimately real. As you move toward your desk, you catch a glimpse of a book on the shelf, A History of Victorian England. You run your fingers over the spine, the pages worn, and wonder what more there is to learn about this era that has so thoroughly captivated you. The people of that time were not so different from us after all. They loved their families, worked hard, and sought comfort and safety just like we do now. Yet, their world was defined by an ignorance of the very things that kept them from harm. You pick up the book and sit back down, flicking through the pages. You start reading about the rapid industrialization, the birth of modern medicine, the innovations that changed the world. But it's clear that, much like the Victorians, we are still in the midst of our own evolution. The thought of your modern life, your own safety, and the lessons we've learned from the past comforts you. It makes you wonder, how far will we go before we realize the hidden dangers that lurk in our world today? As the day winds down and you settle into the quiet comfort of your home, the shadows in the corners of the room feel less ominous. There's no arsenic wallpaper here, no toxic medicines lurking in the cabinet, no gas lamps waiting to poison the air. You breathe in, taking one last look around your home, and appreciate it for all that it is: safe, secure, and free from the invisible killers that once lurked in every corner of a Victorian household. The fire crackles softly in the hearth, casting a warm glow on the walls as you settle back into your chair. You know that while we may never be completely free from danger, the world we live in now is safer than it ever was before, and that, for all its flaws, is something worth appreciating. As you settle back into your chair, the warmth of the fire enveloping you, a sense of peace washes over you. The Victorian dangers, those hidden killers in every corner of that strange, forgotten world, seem distant now. The smooth rhythm of modern life, with its safety measures and advancements, offers a comforting contrast. Yet, as you reflect on the day's strange journey through time, you can't help but feel a deep appreciation for what we've learned and for how far we've come. The world has changed drastically since the days of the Victorians. Back then, even the most seemingly insignificant things, the wallpaper, the food, the very air, carried hidden perils. It's hard to imagine a time when people lived with such constant threats, unaware of the invisible dangers that shape their daily lives. And yet, these same people built the foundation for the society we live in today. The Victorians, despite all the perils they faced, were incredibly resilient. They navigated the world with all its risks and uncertainties, creating art, literature, and a sense of beauty that still endures. Their determination, their ability to adapt to a world full of unseen threats, is something we carry forward into the present. You glance at the clock on the mantelpiece, and you realize the evening has slipped away, but your mind is still buzzing with thoughts about that other time, that other world. You look around your modern living room, noticing the safety features we take for granted: the smoke detectors on the ceiling, the fire extinguisher tucked away in the corner, the double-minus glazed windows keeping the cold out. You feel a profound sense of gratitude for these everyday conveniences, these protections that, while invisible, ensure your safety every single day. But there's one thought that lingers quietly at the back of your mind. As much as you appreciate the advancements we've made, you can't help but wonder about the future. What will people from the future look back on and say about our time? What dangers, hidden in plain sight, are we oblivious to today? What advances in health, safety, and technology will emerge in the coming years, shedding light on the things we now take for granted? For now, though, the present feels safe. The modern world may have its issues, but it has far fewer hidden dangers than the world the Victorians faced. You've learned to appreciate this newfound safety, this clarity in your understanding of the past and present. And most importantly, you've learned to appreciate the quiet, simple comforts of today, comforts that allow you to rest, to breathe, and to live without the constant fear of invisible threats lurking in every shadow. As you relax further into the comfort of your modern life, you realize that, for all the advancement we've made, it's the quiet moments of peace and safety that truly matter. The small, everyday things: the steady warmth from a modern heater, the glow of an electric light, the certainty of clean water, are not just luxuries, they're vital. And in the quiet of your home, far removed from the dangers of the past, you find a profound sense of gratitude for the world we've built, and for the lessons we've learned along the way. The fire crackles softly, and your eyes grow heavy. It's been a long day, filled with discoveries, thoughts, and reflections. You feel the weight of your body sink deeper into your chair, the warmth wrapping around you like a protective cocoon. And as your eyelids flutter and your breathing slows, you know one thing for certain: you are safe. Safe in a world that, though imperfect, has worked tirelessly to protect you from the invisible dangers that once defined every moment of existence. With that thought, you finally drift off to sleep, feeling at peace, knowing that no matter what comes next, the lessons of the past will continue to guide us toward a better, safer future. As the final embers of the fire flicker out, the silence of the night wraps itself around you. The weight of the day's reflection settles heavily in your mind. You've traveled through time in a way, back to an era where every day was filled with hidden threats. The Victorians, living their lives with no knowledge of the dangers lurking in their beautiful homes, did so with resilience. They moved forward, they created, they thrived despite the poison that surrounded them. But now, here you are, in a world where those dangers have been largely erased, thanks to advancements in science, technology, and public health. You feel the contrast deeply in the safety of your modern home. There are no arsenic-laced walls, no toxic gases seeping through pipes, no lead-painted toys waiting to be chewed on. Instead, there are safety alarms, regulations, and treatments that protect you from the hazards that once ruled the lives of millions. Your mind wanders briefly to the future. You wonder, as you often do, about what future generations will think of our world. What will they find strange? What hidden dangers are we unknowingly embracing today, just as the Victorians once did? Perhaps the dangers we don't see now will one day be as obvious to them as the arsenic in the wallpaper is to us. But for tonight, there is only peace. The room is dark now, but the soft glow of the moonlight peeks through the window. You draw in a slow, steady breath, feeling the cool air fill your lungs. The house is quiet, the safety of your modern life palpable in every breath you take. You roll over, adjusting your position in bed, feeling the softness of the mattress and the warmth of your blankets cocoon you once more. Tomorrow will come with its own challenges, but for now, you are safe. The world outside may be filled with uncertainties, but here, in the warmth of your home, you find comfort in the present, comfort in knowing that the hidden dangers that shaped human history are slowly being left behind. You close your eyes and let the sound of your own breathing lull you towards sleep, the final thoughts of the past dissolving into the peace of now. There will always be more to learn, more to discover, more to appreciate. And for now, the most important lesson is clear: progress doesn't just change the world, it makes it safer for those who come after. With that, the edges of your consciousness soften, and you slip into the comfort of deep sleep, the knowledge of a safer tomorrow nestled in your heart. As you drift deeper into the comfort of sleep, the worries of the day slowly fade away, and the world of the Victorian era becomes nothing more than a distant dream. The house, with its hidden dangers and its rich history, fades into the background, replaced by the simplicity of your modern life. You find yourself back in the present, the weight of your modern blankets a soothing contrast to the restrictive layers of the Victorian wardrobe. The soft hum of modern life technology, safety, and convenience surrounds you, and you can't help but appreciate the many small comforts that now define your existence. The sound of your home's heating system gently kicking on in the background reminds you of how far we've come since those days of cold, drafty rooms. No more waking up to the sharp, numbing chill of a Victorian bedroom, where even the wealthiest families had to rely on fireplaces that often failed to heat the entire house. No more fears of gas leaks or the threat of carbon monoxide poisoning seeping into the air as you slept soundly. As you rest, the fleeting thought crosses your mind about how our ancestors navigated their world with such resilience, despite all the unseen threats. And now, in this age of safety measures and health standards, you realize how much we owe to those who came before us, those who unknowingly created a foundation for the world we now enjoy. Yet, even now, there are still hidden dangers we don't fully understand. The future will reveal them, just as our modern world now looks back at the Victorians with a mixture of fascination and gratitude. Perhaps we too will be seen as a generation that lived without knowing the full scope of the dangers around us. But tonight, as the house remains silent and safe, there is peace. You relax deeper into your pillow, letting your muscles loosen, the tightness from the corset and heavy clothing of your Victorian dream gone. The softest sigh escapes your lips as you feel the weight of your day lift away, sinking further into the comfort of sleep. The air around you is warm, your home is secure, and for the first time in a long while, you can truly rest. Tomorrow will bring new opportunities and new challenges. But for tonight, you are free from fear. The dangers of the past no longer have a hold on you. And that knowledge gives you a rare and precious sense of peace. As sleep fully embraces you, your thoughts drift away, and you slip into a deep, uninterrupted rest. In this moment, surrounded by the comforts of modern life, you know that you are safe, and that is enough.